Hello and welcome to Business with Smith Co. Hello and welcome back to Business with Smith Co. So over the past few weeks we've been looking at a little thing called business. It's kind of, it's obvious. But no, more specifically, we've been looking at the 4 Ps. So, when people talk about 4 Ps, one of the main things really is branding. However, there is a further thing not within the 4 Ps. No, so not branding. Sorry. When you're talking about product within the 4 Ps, the main thing is branding. But then there's also more. And that's what we'll be talking about today. Because in the previous video we were talking about brands. So now we're going to be talking about product design. So a well-designed product should be affordable. I mean, obviously this isn't always the case. If you look at, some iPhones, they're not affordable at all. I actually don't have an iPhone. Well, actually, I have an old one. It's like an iPhone 5 or 4. But I don't have like a new one because they're just very expensive. And I might like to have one, but when you're looking at the affordability, if you go to a shop and you go, okay, so I need to get a phone because you need to do business or for work or whatever the case may be, and you go, okay, so let's get a phone. Now which one are you going to get? Affordability, nah. Yeah, more expensive ones. That's the avenue approach you don't always want to go down. These videos are free though, guys, so I should be getting millions of views every day, right? I'm not? Okay, well, fine, I'll go with that. Anyway, so a product should also be aesthetically pleasing and it should function correctly. Now, an example of this would be that a hairdryer is actually designed to dry hair that needs to be dried. Doesn't do that, then, well, number one, it's actually breaking the law. Someone can return that. Well, not necessarily breaking the law, but someone can return that product and say, well, it's faulty, it doesn't work to what it's supposed to do, so I want my money back. They can say that. So, that really you get a lot of returns, or if not a lot of returns, you're risking that you get a lot of returns. So there are then functional product ideas. So these things that are like the product design. So they're like designs which you'd add to a product. They're not necessarily necessary, but they help increase what you like about the product. So, for example, you've got sports caps. You just sort of suck through the thing, and all sorts of things like that. So, anyway, there are factors when a business should consider when it is actually choosing its product design. So, there's factors the business should consider when designing its product. So, there's cost of production. So, a business will need to calculate the cost of certain raw materials or labor to produce a product in different ways when deciding the design. This will ensure the cost per unit does not actually rise so much that the good just becomes commercially unviable. So, for example, currently at least, as of this moment, we do not actually have expensive software. So we can't afford expensive editing software. We can't afford all this stuff. So a lot of the stuff has to be either pre budget sort of stuff or free. So that's the issue because obviously you don't have to technically pay yourself. So currently, costs are down. But let's say you have a video that has, let's say, editors, product, idea creators. So then let's say you have 10 people working on a video, but they're not 10 creators. They're 10 people who work at different jobs around the video. That will increase costs. And let's say you have very expensive editing. That may be great. You get very well edited. You get a good editor to be able to edit a video very well, and you've got good editing technology to be able to do that. Maybe have a very expensive camera. Currently, see, as of this moment, we don't do face cam. One of the reasons for that is just camera wise. I mean, you wouldn't be able to see much, so not much point. You just involve more work. With very little results. So there's also the fact that if you have area, if you have that labor and you have a thing where you don't have to buy as many things, you have to buy, like, the microphone, this is pretty good. Well, maybe you wouldn't say so, but probably isn't as good as some of the more higher class creators who are able to, fork out the extra little money. And that's the problem, because a business will have to gauge what they will actually decide what they will spend money on. Because if you spend money on, like, really, really good quality materials, then yes, your product may become more appealing, but what if no one buys your product? Then you're stuck with very expensive stuff. If this can be very dramatic, because you might look at thousands, a product might cost thousands, and then it might cost just a few hundred. In fact, sometimes it can even be just maybe 20 quid. And that's the point, because you've got this massive difference in, labor, and you've got the massive difference in actual raw materials and all this sort of thing. This can fluctuate your cost tremendously, and that needs to be considered. Now you have got production feasibility. Production feasibility is all about whether, you need to actually build a new design blueprint that has, and you need to make sure that it's possible to do this, and it's possible to get skilled labor, and it's possible to get the machinery that can produce it, and that it will function correctly if produced as planned. So you need to make sure that it's all one good, because obviously this comes into the sort of thing where you have feasibility studies. But if you go ahead and ignore that, if you just make your product, if you just go ahead and you have all these things done, and this has been a problem for many people, including myself. We have this sort of thing where it's like, well, because you can't always achieve this, this is a very important area. Now, next is meets the needs of the target market. A business should have an idea who the target market is and what features, colours, functions that they most desire to match their needs. It needs to appeal to a group of consumers that the product is aimed at. You need to make sure that you listen to your customer base, or if this ever became a full-time job, your fan base. All you viewers out there, say below in the comments what you want to change about the videos, because that could help, but sorry if it doesn't. Sometimes but anyway, that sort of thing. You want to listen to your customers, and you want to make sure that you know who your customers are. Obviously it can be difficult. Some businesses they cannot know really what the customers are, because, well, there's a certain amount of risk. If a market is brand new, this is something no one has envisaged, and you don't have a patent for a design, you don't have a copyright for a work, or you don't have a thing on the name or industry, then if you start going about the place asking questions that lead to your business, if you start saying, well, this is a great idea, would you like that? People go, there's a man around the last day, and he asked, would this great idea work? And they went, that'd be great. I'm going to set up my own company, and something that causes problems, because if you have the great idea, you can fear there. And that's really the problem, because it must meet legal requirements. A good or service must be fit for purpose and function as described. This is against the law to do, if it is not the way, for many, many, many businesses. I guess you could technically say clickbait is kind of illegal then, isn't it? Like if this video said 5 amazing tricks that'll, make you a millionaire. If it said that, then it would be like, well, that's false advertising. It's not, well, it's not even advertising. It's like the good is not as described, so that's against the law. But I guess technically it's, well, the point is, that if you've got this sort of area, it's like, if you have something like that, where the product needs to be able to do what it's supposed to do, because, as I've said, it can be returned, but furthermore, it is breaking the law. Now, obviously, you could call the product in all different ways. It doesn't necessarily mean that the person will be imprisoned, or, but it just means, like, you just want to be aware of any of the legal requirements. Anyway, now, next comes packaging. Now, Packaging is something which we will be talking about in a later video, because it's getting a bit towards the end of this video. So hopefully you'll subscribe to the YouTube channel and watch other videos, because that'd be helpful. And we'll see you next time. Hopefully, if you come back next time. If not, then we won't see you. Hopefully we will see you though. Bye bye.